Welcome to Fade to Chat, Golden Age Cinema. And I'm joined with co-host Cindy Rotz. And this week is a pick that I agreed to. I guess I kind of put out there and said, let's do this. Let's do this one. So this episode, we chose The 7-Year Itch from 1955. And directed by Billy Wilder. So we've gone back to the Billy Wilder well to get one of his films. It was a screenplay done by George Axelrod and Billy Wilder, based on Axelrod's 1952 Broadway play. I think George Axelrod worked with Wilder again in some other movies that he did. But this was really based on Axelrod's 1952 play. Stars Marilyn Monroe simply as the girl and Tom Ewell as Richard Sherman. And the rest of the cast is just kind of around them through the process. They don't play a lot of significant roles. So Evelyn Keyes, Sonny Tufts, Oscar Homolka, Robert Strauss, and Carolyn Jones are all part of the supporting cast. Interesting, fun film. You can tell you're watching a stage play with some additions to it, like trips to send off the wife and the son for the summer, and going to the station to be able to, train station, I think it was, to be able to send them off. So they're doing some exterior stuff, but most of it is based on the interior of an apartment. When I watched it, I kept trying to think, how did they stage this? Because the idea that the girl lived in the apartment above him and his family, and that they had an open way, an entrance, a stairwell that led to nothing, basically. But it was a stairwell to the upstairs apartment that had been boarded around. So I knew it was based on a stage play. When I see movies like this, I always try to figure out what did they do on stage with this if I haven't seen the stage play. What are your thoughts about the movie? We'll start a little bit with you before we get more into the details.
I had seen this movie quite a few times, not recently, and I thought, oh, this is a good movie. I'm excited to watch it again. I have to say, I kind of shared your opinion of a previous movie we watched where you said it wasn't as good as I remembered.
Yeah.
It it kind of fell flat for me. I got a little bit bored with Richard Sherman, the character.
Yeah.
I didn't find it really funny. And of course I knew what the whole movie was about. It's like, come on, come on, come on. It got a little tedious for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, this time that I watched it, I could not take my eyes off of Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, we've had her in other films.
Hmm.
She has a bit part in All About Eve. That was shot in black and white, wasn't it? Because there's a whole thing about this had to be shot
Yes.
in color because of her contract.
Yes.
And then after this film, years after, Billy Wilder used her again in Some Like It Hot, which I think was one of the
Hmm.
first films that we did in this
Hmm.
series. And she is just strikingly beautiful in this. I mean, maybe it's her age, maybe maybe it's her health and conditions that have
Hmm.
not, but I could not take my eyes off of her in this film for a couple of reasons. One, well, just the whole beauty. She just really, and I think the colorization or the shooting it in color helps too.
Hmm.
But her character, she was naive, but she
Hmm.
wasn't dumb naive, you know?
Right. Right.
And what I I didn't. I knew where the film was going. I thought it was like choppy little scenes. It was not tied together well in some places. Scenes that had kind of no purposeful reasoning. You know, he has that Walter Mitty kind of fantasy where he goes off in fantasy phases. And I found those less endearing than I had in previous times that I've watched it. So I get that when you say I was just not surprised. And I knew what the theme was. But what I appreciated from this watch was Marilyn Monroe's portrayal in this is not dumb blonde. It's not unsophisticated. It is, she has like virtue. And she, when he talks about his wife and he talks about his family, I don't want to say she's envious of that, but she respects the way that he talks about his family and particularly his wife. And then, he talks in one scene, he talks about how my wife is so naive. She thought that lipstick on my collar was cranberry sauce from a Christmas party. Mm-hmm. And you can't really tell if that's what the wife really believed, because the wife doesn't seem very naive either. And or was the wife just kind of being coy and knowing where not to wage battles in the situation? So again, I really appreciated Marilyn Monroe's portrayal in this. She did some serious acting stints. Or acting classes with Lee Strasberg and, trying to up her game as an actress. And I don't know if it occurred during this period of time, but there was some just subtle things she would do, like an eyebrow raise or kind of a closed eye or something like that in her facial expression. That was like, this is skilled acting. It's not just, she's not just up there as, a pretty object. So yeah, I did. That was the thing that I appreciated about this film, and not because I'm a lecher, but just because I was really kind of watching. Yeah, come on, I am a lecher, but because I was really watching her performance in this, more so than Tom Ewell's portrayal in this. He had done this on the stage play as a stage actor for 3 years. He didn't think he was going to get the role but he did get the role for it. Now, I had looked up yesterday who did Marilyn Monroe replace from the stage play. And I can't find it right now. The actress was, here it is, Vanessa Brown. And I then did a search on Vanessa Brown. Now, she has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for film and one for television, although she also did some theater and was kind of known for the theater. And she was the girl in the stage play version of this. Mm-hmm. So, they, at least in the review that I have, they talk about her work to the degree, but there's nothing really remarkable she was gifted. And she was a quiz kid in the 40s. And so she got kind of known for her intelligence as a quiz kid, and then became a prominent performer on stage, screen, and television. Known for her intelligence, charm, and versatility is what they say about her.
Not familiar with her.
Yeah, either am I. She was in Tarzan and the Showgirl. There was not a lot of class kind of movies that she was in. So yeah, I was curious who played that role because it's so iconic. You can only think about Marilyn Monroe in that role.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, she was in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Okay.
She was also in The Heiress, Tarzan, and The Slave Girl. Excuse me,
The Heiress?
The Heiress. Yeah,
Well, that's my movie. I've watched that. Who does
yeah.
she
She
play in
played
that?
Mariah in The Heiress.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was on some television, The Wonder Years, Dallas, Twilight Zone,
Mm.
Police Story. She kind of moved over to television from film
Now I'll have to look her up. Thanks, Marty.
in the 50s. So, Three Husbands, The Secret of St. Ives, Mother Wore Tights, which I've seen that. That is a musical. I heard that snicker.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
It's the vaudeville family story. Myrtle McKinley joins a chorus line instead of a business school. That's the byline for Mother Wore Tights. And for those of you furious, Betty Grable was in that with Dan Daly. So yeah. And Vanessa Brown was Bessie, which I think was probably one of the younger children. Or no, it wouldn't have been one of the younger children at that time, based on her age. So, okay, just went down a rat hole
Yeah.
with
I
Vanessa
went
Brown.
down one too. I
Okay,
went down one with Carolyn Jones, who played Nurse Finch in that hospital
right.
scene. And
Yeah,
I looked at her and I read that she played Morticia Adams in the
right,
Addams Family. And I thought,
right.
boy, I can't see that. So I went back and looked at it again because in this film she had, I think, red hair. And in
Hmm.
Addams Family, of course, she had the long black hair. But I went back and looked at her face and thought, oh, yeah, that's Morticia. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, and she
Wouldn't have
plays a
known
bit
that.
role. She plays kind of a nurse that is part
Mm,
of one of Tom
one of
Ewell's
his
fantasies.
fantasies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw the listing, it's like as the nurse, and I kept waiting for her to be in a more prominent role in this,
Hmm.
and could not find her. Could not find her till that very small little scene. And then the other person, Miss Morris, Marguerite Chapman, who played his secretary, I guess you would say. I tried to do a little search on there. She had a long television career. She lived from 1918 to 1999, so 80 years. And she had 70 or 80 IMDb notifications. She was in The
What
Whistler.
about
Wow.
what
What
about
about
Robert Strauss, who played Mr. Krahulik? He seemed familiar to me.
Yeah, Mr. Krahulik, Robert Strauss, was the handyman, I guess.
Yes.
The handyman, he was in Stalag 17, The
Oh,
Man with the
okay.
Golden Arm. But I think he was he appeared in a few shows like this. The Monkees, The Virginian, Beverly Hillbillies. So he did the TV circuit too in the 60s.
Okay.
Bewitched, he was in 3 episodes. He just sort of had that gravelly voice and those eyes
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
were that are memorable. So as a character actor,
Yeah, I
Perry
kind of like
Mason,
him.
yeah, just in a bunch of Wagon Train, a bunch of television shows, Dr. Kildare. But I still am going through this and seeing a lot of TV series stuff, but I'm looking for some of his movie creds, and man, these are all TV series. So it must have been we saw him growing up in a variety of TV and really not a lot of film, but quite a distinct Robert Strauss, quite a distinct character actor.
Mm-hmm.
There was another actor in there whose face I recognized and went to search for him in other show or other episodes. And Victor Moore, who played the plumber, had a very small part, just, set up to help him kind of remove her toe from a bathtub. And then he becomes part of the gossip circle that feeds Tom Ewell's paranoia. His face is so familiar, Victor Moore. And he died, this film was 1955. He died 7 years after that. But this was his last film. But he was in a series of previous films. In terms of credits, he had like 80 credits as an actor. The 7 Year Itch was his last film with that. But I remember seeing him in some things, and I just can't remember as I go through his IMDb history what it was that I recognize him for. So
I kind of thought the same thing about Mr. Brady, who was Donald McBride.
Mr. Brady. Oh, his boss.
His boss. They had the one scene with him where he came in early in the morning and he hadn't been to bed yet. And he said they were going to have a hootenanny together. And I didn't care for him at all. He was.
Yeah, I didn't care for him. He was a player.
I didn't like him at all. He was a real lech.
I think Tom Ewell's character, Richard Sherman, was a reluctant player. So you have some sympathy for him because he's kind of caught in this scenario. But Donald McBride, his boss, it really is kind of, well, we did this. I went and I drank and played poker until 8:45 this morning and then came in here. You got to get used to this. How long have you been married? 7 years. And then we get the connection with the psychiatrist later in that day, I think, at the office where he's reading this. He's a book editor, essentially, and he's reading the psychiatric book. And he picks up on the chapter on the 7 Year Itch. That was really a stereotypic depiction. I think the line that I laughed out loud was about how much do you charge? Oh, I charge way, way too much for you. But it's a really significant problem that I'm having. Well, if you have the money, everything's a significant problem.
If you have an itch, you should scratch it, he said.
Yeah. And he quoted an hourly rate of $50 an hour.
I heard
which
that.
is
I heard that's
peanuts
a lot.
for psychiatrists now.
Right, but back then
it was
been a lot.
Yeah, it would have been a lot. So
yeah. I know someone who had a 7-year itch, but I can't talk about it on camera.
I thought you were going to ask me. In my fantasy of how this was going to play out, you're going to ask me if I had the 7-year itch. I will not.
You're beyond the 7-year itch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I get it. I understand that because your relationship changes after that extensive period of time. After 2 or 3 years, but when you get into the 7, it's sort of like, oh, this is going to go. This is going into a whole different kind of awareness, commitment, relationship. And for men who aren't used to that, it's scary. It's uncertain.
It's scary. Oh,
Oh yeah, I think they at that point realized this is the person who, if I'm going to be virtuous, this is the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And
and it
that
takes 7 years to get there.
about that, yeah, I would say.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I get it. I think it to me it's more, and I'm going to insult astrology persons now when I say it's more like a horoscope. You read about it, you know about it, you hear the myth of it, and then whenever you get to that point, whether it's 7 years or 8 years, you make that connection and you go, oh,
Hmm,
this is what's going on.
interesting.
Whether you're fulfilling your horoscope, if you want to call it that way, or it's really a predictive natural experience or occurrence that occurs. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But I will
does it
neither
only,
confirm or deny.
yeah.
But I have been married for 42 years. So,
Wow, good for you.
yeah.
Now it doesn't pertain to dating. It's just if you're married. What do you think about that?
It, uh, well, it
You've
doesn't,
been
yeah, I think it's just if you're married
okay.
because dating is always fluid.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I
I
know
think if you
someone who had a
dated
seven
someone,
year
if,
itch
yeah,
and they had that crisis and they decided they were not going to continue after 7 years. And they
yeah.
actually said, I have a 7 year itch. And I was too young at that point to understand it. So it was
Yeah,
interesting.
well, that's not a legal defense in divorce court. In fact,
No.
it's probably a very bad attempt at a defense in
Yeah,
divorce court.
well,
I
yeah.
I think
Anyway.
you also have to think about it developmentally in terms of well, men and women. But with at that age, say on the average, you're getting married around 25. Well, then you're in your mid 30s, maybe, or you're marrying a little later, like 28. You're in your mid 30s, and there's a lot of things going on. You're not young anymore, but you're young enough to not be consider yourself old. And so
Hmm.
it's a developmental kind of crisis more so than a
Yeah.
psychiatric crisis. Um, okay. Um,
Okay.
can I tell you a very strange but true story about this movie?
Sure.
I kind of foreshadowed it when we talked about this being the next movie we were going to do. First of all, when I watched it again and saw the dress scene, where the subway
Hmm.
air rushes and pushes the dress up, I remember that as being a longer scene and shot farther away. So you had her
Hmm.
full body, not just the legs. But it was
Yeah.
shot pretty much waist down and
Hmm.
it was shot at kind of a higher angle. Now, maybe I remember it that way because all the iconic depictions of her are full body
Exactly.
shots.
Yes.
So, yeah, that scene created quite a bit of trouble for Marilyn.
Yes, it
I
did.
read somewhere, maybe you did, she had trouble with her lines during this movie. She had trouble with her lines in a lot of
Hmm.
movies.
Hmm.
But the final cut of what I saw was just remarkable in terms of what she did. But this scene in particular, there was a story I picked up on Reddit, and then I went ahead and researched it a little further. Was when someone was talking about this film on Reddit, they said, "Yeah, but that iconic scene." She went home to her husband that night, and her husband just physically abused her.
Hmm.
And the story behind that is that it's credible and it's well documented. Billy Wilder mentions it, and then other people who were on the set mention this situation. The full extent of whatever happened that night has not definitely been confirmed. Has never been confirmed in a court record or sworn testimony. But here's what the evidence shows. Joe DiMaggio, she was married to the baseball player Joe DiMaggio, hadn't planned on being on the set that night. But columnist Walter Winchell, if you remember that, Walter Winchell,
Mm-hmm.
allegedly persuaded him to come. Director Billy Wilder later said he didn't like what he saw or what everyone else was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
According to the New York Times, the couple had a screaming fight late that night, and the next morning, Monroe's bruises reportedly had to be covered up with makeup. DiMaggio then demanded the flying skirt scene be cut from the film entirely. Monroe refused, and when she returned to Los Angeles, filed for divorce in October of 1954 on grounds of mental cruelty. There's a broader context to this, too. Monroe's actor friend Brad Dexter recalled a phone conversation in which Monroe told him DiMaggio was jealous and a controlling partner. He doesn't want to know much about my work as an actress, and he wanted to cut her off from her whole professional world. So, yeah, the bruises are corroborated by multiple sources, including Wilder's own biography and contemporary reporting. Whether to call it a beating in a full sense, that exact word involves accounts that are secondhand and sometimes sensationalized. So, did I just ruin the movie for you and everybody else?
No, no. But you did allude to that. You said something negative had happened,
Yeah,
and of course I looked it up, and I read the same thing you just said, and I also read that they had tried to shoot the scene in New York City, but there were so many bystanders and
yeah,
whistling and noise and commotion that it was unusable, and then they had to go back to the set and recreate it and do it there because they couldn't do it in New York because it was just too much commotion. Yeah, I did
yeah,
read that. That's very sad about her marriage, but I did read that. And so now you're right. Whenever I see that scene, I think about it.
yeah,
But it's still probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. And
yeah,
you're right also. I pictured it in my mind because you see the poster of her and it's the full body poster with the skirt and everything. And I thought, wow, what a dress to wear to the movies.
yeah,
But and you're right about how she dressed, but wow, I mean she was stunning and that blonde hair and particularly the scene when she was leaning out the window. Do you remember that? She's drying her hair.
yeah.
And what did she have on? It's like a slip or something, like lingerie, and she's leaning out the window drying her beautiful blonde hair. It was
Yeah,
something.
and I don't see that as necessarily her attempting to be provocative. I just kind of see her
No.
as
Mm-mm.
like a free spirit kind of person
Mm-hmm.
who is okay with mixing potato chips and champagne.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Now, from a woman's point of view, I always have to say these stupid little things that I notice. But
Okay,
if a
you're
woman's
up.
wearing high heels, thank you, high heels get stuck in everything. They get stuck in grass, they get stuck in the space between sidewalks. Here she is standing on this subway grate, and her heels didn't get stuck.
I didn't pay that much attention to her heels at that moment.
No, I know you didn't, but trust me, her heels didn't get stuck in that grate.
Yeah. I don't know if there are more things. I'm going through some of the trivia, which of course will
Mm.
include the trivia in the show notes of both the video and the audio version of the show if you're listening or watching this. Um,
There were a couple of things I noticed that were just, I always look for little things that don't make sense or I think are interesting. In the very beginning, in the opening credits, is it Saul? Bass who did
Saul Bass.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When they get to the word, the 7-year itch, the T scratches itself. Did you see that?
No, but
Go back and watch it.
that is Saul Bass. I mean, and
Okay.
he has a distinct version of titling, and he's
Mm-hmm.
known for his titles. Yeah, so Saul Bass is really known for titles, and you've seen his titles in a lot of movies, and his
Mm-hmm.
posters that are associated with the movies. So, for example, North by Northwest, Psycho,
Mm-hmm.
Spartacus, Exodus, Ocean's 11, West Side Story, Advise and Consent. It's a mad, 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 mad world. That's Saul Bass's titling. We got to do
Okay, I
that
just
film.
watched that too. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Mm.
In Harm's Way, Seconds, which is a film, if you've never seen that, we got to talk.
No. Seconds.
Seconds, it's a John
I'm gonna make
Frankenheimer
a note.
film
Okay.
with Rock Hudson in it.
Oh.
The War of the Roses, 1989. Goodfellas, 1990. Cape Fear.
Oh, that's a creepy one.
Casino. We're getting into the 90s in terms of him and his time. So he died in 1996 at the age of 75. But Saul Bass, yeah, very recognizable titles in this with the sequencing. Other bit of news is other people that Wilder attempted to cast or was interested in. They were Walter Matthau could have done this role. I
Could
don't
have.
know. Could have done this role. Gary
Yeah, could
Cooper?
have.
Nah, I don't think Gary Cooper. I don't know. James Stewart, one of your favorites. Nah, possibly. William
No, I
Holden.
don't think so.
Yeah, I could not see William Holden with his kind of manly, approach really being cast as in the role of Richard Sherman because he would have to transform his image into someone who was kind of bumbling and
Yeah.
confused, and his image was a lot different than that. So. I don't know. Are there other aspects of trivia? Billy Wilder wanted to shoot it in black and white. We mentioned this, but was overruled because 20th Century Fox contract said all of Marilyn Monroe's film had to be shot in color. I think this film is greatly improved by color.
I agree. This one is.
Yeah.
This one is. I'm sure you read about her dress being sold. It broke an auction record
Yeah.
in 2011. It sold for 4.6 million, and it surpassed a previous record of 923,000, which was Audrey Hepburn's little black dress from Breakfast at
From
Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is a weird question. Oh, too weird, maybe. So you just bought a $4.4 million dress worn by a famous actress.
Yeah.
What do you do with it?
Can't wear it. No one else can wear that dress for sure.
That actually was my question. Would you ever be
You
tempted
can't.
to try it on?
Well, there would be no point, but yeah.
But
Um,
it's like
I
Marilyn
guess you would
Monroe.
just hang it like you'd have to protect it and make sure it didn't get damaged or anything. And you'd have to insure it. And yeah, I don't know.
It's too much like a
I
people
guess it's
suit.
just
Yeah,
bragging rights that I have it.
yeah.
I'd rather have a little black dress, but yeah.
No one but Marilyn
Oh,
Monroe ever considered the role for the girl.
right. And they never named her. It was always the girl.
Girl.
Yeah, the girl. She never had a name.
George Cukor was originally thought to direct this, and it wound up with Billy Wilder. If George Cukor would have directed, it would have been a completely different film.
Hmm. I read about the potato chips getting a big publicity boost. It
Yeah,
was Bell brand potato chips, and their slogan was, "If it's Bell, it's swell." And they showed that bag. You could
yeah.
tell. I didn't recognize it because it was, before our time. And then she's dipping them into the champagne, so that got a big boost.
Oh, so it wasn't just Victor Moore as the plumber that was his final film appearance, but it was also Donald McBride as Mr. Brady.
Mm,
So two of those actors, final film appearance for them in the 7 Year Itch.
yeah, I didn't like him at all.
Yeah, I know.
I really didn't. And that's the other thing. As I was watching this movie, I thought, boy, these men, they were just a whole bunch of leches. Even in the beginning, after he sent his wife off to Maine with, the little boy in a paddle, and that one woman walked by in the train station,
Yeah.
and the men all turned and like their tongues were practically hanging out. I thought, oh, for heaven's sakes, did men really act that way?
Well,
Maybe in their heads they did, but it
it,
was so ridiculous.
yeah, the movie started out with Native Americans
That too.
and
Oh my God.
sending them
Yeah.
all off to
Yeah.
wherever the young squaws off and leaving the old men
One.
around with the young squaws.
Mm-hmm.
And the actress that plays that role crossing in front of the Native Americans and all the male Indians are going crazy is the same actress that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
portrayed in the train station.
Oh,
So
is it?
yeah, it is.
I didn't
I
know that.
yeah, well, yeah, well, I checked it while my tongue was hanging out. Uh,
Okay. Oh my God.
so so yeah, and I thought, okay, this is a little bit campy for the setup. You
Yes.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm certain that wasn't in the stage play. That
Yeah.
they're just trying to say this is biological, native, and inherent
Hmm.
in men over the centuries
Right.
by doing that. So, but then he chooses really stereotypic ways of looking at culture in that whole presence. Of course, they weren't thinking about that stuff in '55. So,
Mm-mm.
any other things that you want to say? Any famous quotes or quotes that you like?
Yeah, I had a few. When he showed up at the office that morning after his wife left, his secretary said, "Can I get you a donut or coffee?" And, she was concerned because she said, "I'm afraid you maybe haven't had breakfast since your wife is away." He said, "Oh, no, Miss Morris, I'm perfectly capable of fixing my own breakfast." And he said, "As a matter of fact, I've had a peanut butter sandwich and two whiskey
It's
sours."
ours. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of drinking in the movie, but that's what he had for breakfast.
Yeah, my one of mine is Dr. Brubaker saying, "My 3 o'clock patient jumped out of the window in the middle of his session. I've been
Yeah,
running
I knew
15
you would
minutes
like
ahead of
that.
schedule ever since."
I knew you would like that one. And then at the end, when he's having that nightmare, kind of a fantasy about his wife coming home and finding Marilyn Monroe there, and of course she shoots. She has the gun and she shoots through the door first. There are an awful lot of bullets in that gun. First, she shoots the door open, and then she
Yeah.
shoots him 7 times. I counted. She shot him 7 times. And as he's lying on the stairs, dying, so to speak, he asks her for a cigarette. And she says, "Cigarette, you know what Dr. Murphy told you about smoking." Okay.
Yeah. I thought the Rachmaninoff was a little overdone.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I liked Krahulik. I liked when he would come in and, he came in the first night trying to get the rug or something. And he said, no, no, no. And then he came in the next morning. And every time he would leave, he'd say, "Oh, I wish I was dead. I wish I was dead."
I'll tell you, he creeped me out. Just, I don't know.
Krahulik
He
did.
just, yeah, Kahulik did. And I've seen
Okay.
that actor in other things. And so I know what to expect out of him because the character he plays is very similar. He's not doing Shakespeare in other roles. So, yeah, I mean, he's there for a punchline, and he just kind of creeped me out. Couldn't take a hint, couldn't say no or listen to no. Yeah, just so my feeling about the movie was watching it now for, I don't know, the fifth or sixth time, was that it was really kind of piecemeal. It didn't kind of connect well, and some scenes were left kind of unfinished, and other scenes were like overdone. We don't need as many fantasy sequences in this film because it just starts to get farcical. And maybe that was the intent, but it was just, okay, let's get through his hallucination here and we can get back to the plot.
Yeah.
I've kind of been over flooded with Tom Ewell this week because a film was on TCM called The Great American Pastime. And he reluctantly takes a role of being a little league softball coach or baseball coach in the movie to kind of satisfy business. And then he has to deal with the dynamics of the parents and the single mom who he thinks is hitting on him. And he did, again, a lot of fourth wall stuff, talking into the camera or mugging the camera, which I've seen him do in roles before. And so they're playing off of that theaterish kind of version of him. And this came out in 1956, so it was pretty much immediately following this film. It's an okay film. It is light fancy, and kind of fun to watch. Shot all in black and white, and again, The Great American Pastime doesn't have really great reviews on it, but it was on and I watched it, and it was just interesting seeing Tom Ewell be Tom Ewell, the stage actor, doing the same kind of mugging, the same kind of exasperation that he did in The 7-Year Itch. Now, you have to go back a few years with him because he was in a Hepburn movie that was Adam's Rib with Hepburn and Tracy. And if you remember that movie, he plays the husband that got shot by his wife, and they were in court, and Hepburn was defending the wife, and Tracy was defending the no good, conniving husband who was running around. So a completely different role for him, at least from what these two roles that I described, and kind of he gets into the Letcher kind of aspect of this. He doesn't care. And, and if she just gets out of hand, you just beat her around a little bit and things will be, the emphasis of the movie is the relationship between Hepburn and Tracy trying to
Yeah,
deal
I've
with the
seen that
same
movie.
case.
Hmm.
But he plays a side character in there that's kind of so
Mm.
so yeah, we haven't done Spencer and we haven't done Tracy and Hepburn yet, or a film from
No.
them.
Mm-mm.
We should look at one in some time in the future. That's all I've got on this film. Do you have anything left, or do you want to talk about next episode's film?
I had one more little comment that I forgot to mention in the beginning in the opening credits. Besides the letter T scratching itself, the very last credit that comes out says the director Billy Wilder, and it pops out on a spring.
Ah, what is the significance of that?
Don't know.
Well, this was the only title sequence that Saul Bass did for Billy Wilder, so maybe he wasn't
Mm,
pleased with his work after that.
could be. Yeah.
And Saul Bass went on and did a lot of great title sequencing for films, but he never returned to the Billy Wilder well for other films. Okay, so your choice for the next episode's movie, and you chose an interesting one.
All right, our next movie is going to be High Society with Grace Kelly, Frank Sinatra, and Bing Crosby. And I thought I would surprise you this time and choose a musical.
Well, you surprised me on this one. Frankly, so it's got Bing Crosby, it's got Grace Kelly, it's got Frank Sinatra, it's got some memorable tunes in it. It also has Celeste Holm, which we remember from
Hmm.
All About Eve,
Yes.
and Louis Armstrong,
Hmm.
who plays sort of a background character in this, and I think it's all about Bing Crosby's love for jazz. And, that's how Louis Armstrong gets connected to this. Have you seen this before? High
I
Society?
watched a trailer. I watched a trailer this morning, and parts of it looked familiar to me, but I don't think I've seen the whole movie.
And I think they retain some things from this is a musical version of the Philadelphia Story,
Hmm.
which when I suggested the Philadelphia Story in the past, you're like, I got a sense you didn't enjoy that film.
It's not my favorite, but I've seen it. I don't care for her character. She's so snooty.
Yeah. Yeah, she is
Yeah.
much more snootier than Grace Kelly is in this.
Hmm.
But they do retain one of my favorite scenes, which is,
Okay.
and if I remember it correctly, is the young daughter Caroline Lord sings Lydia, oh Lydia, the encyclopedia, Lydia the tattoo lady, from the Marx Brothers. That's a famous
Oh my God.
scene from the Marx
From the Marx
Brothers.
Brothers.
And
Okay.
and Groucho kept that song alive as long as Groucho was alive. And I had a student one time, an international student who came through, and her name was Lydia. She was from Africa, and I'm like, that's
Hmm.
interesting. And so I turned her on to Lydia, oh, Lydia, the encyclopedia. But I think they keep that in this film. That was what it was in the Philadelphia Story. And she does her little pirouette and dance and trying to entertain guests with it. So, all right, we will take a look at High Society from 1956 next time we get together. It is directed by Charles Walters. Not too familiar with his direction, but it is a fun. It is a fun movie, and I get to choose the next one the following week. So we'll see what I do with that. But you've you've waged an interesting defense by choosing a musical. Now I can't choose a musical for a while because
I
you
had thought
kind of
about that.
you kind of put that out there. It's like, I'll get him at his own game. And I probably would have chosen a different musical,
Yeah.
but it'll be interesting to see how you react to this film. You've knocked off two birds with one stone. One, you've put a musical out there, so now I can't do a musical, and you've taken away the Philadelphia story for a good period of time, which would have been a choice, despite how much you don't like Katharine Hepburn in that role. She was. I agree with you. She's too snooty. I agree with you. She was too snooty in that movie, to the point where it's like, why do people even like this woman? Why are these two guys fawning all over her?
Yeah.
But yeah. So next episode, we will do High Society from 1956. So we're still a little stuck in the 50s, which is okay. It's a safe place to be. So thank you, Cindy, for doing this. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. And as we explored today, the 7-year itch. And thanks for folks who are listening to this, the cinemaphiles who are either listening or watching the video version of this discussion that we have every week. Thank you for watching Fade to Chat Golden Age Cinema. Want to remind you, Cindy and I will be appearing at Macstock. Now, that sounds pretentious, but basically, we're going to the Macstock conference. We're not appearing together at Macstock, but we will be there together, and it'll be fun to now that we're both doing a podcast together, it's going to be fun for that experience. But Macstock happens July 9th through the 12th. Yeah. The 9th is I have a lot of prep to do. Mm-hmm. I'm working on some swag and trying to figure out how many stickers I need to have and other things like that. So I've got to work that out to get those printed. But Macstock is macstockconference.com. It's everything about Macintosh computers that you would want to know. For those of you who are trending towards the tech stuff and still, listen to this show, you ought to check out macstockconference.com. Should you go to join us, use Pod Talk as when you check out as a code, and you will get $50 off your registration for it. It's a great fun, great times, and take a look at macstockconference.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@fade-to-chat. You'll get notifications of new shows, and you can always kind of join us, put comments in it and things like that. Contact us at the Pod Talk Network at gmail.com. That's our email address. And of course, you can visit the website, thepodtalk.net, which has this show and other shows that I am involved with or appear on. So spread the word to other cinemaphiles, and most of all, keep the projectors rolling.